everyone. Welcome back to Innovation Unplugged, where we spotlight innovators driving tomorrow's world. I'm Jim Brisimitzis, and today we're taking a fascinating look into the autonomous technology and its role in reshaping agriculture, logistics, and other industries. Our guest today is Alon Ascher, and he is from Blue White Robotics, a company that is at the forefront of revolutionizing how we think about automation and human-to-machine collaboration in agriculture. So if you're curious about autonomy and how that can transform complex industries, let's get unplugged. Welcome, Alon. It's a pleasure to have you here, my friend.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you for having me.
So let's start with a little bit of an introduction about yourself, and then we'll kind of get into what was that really burning issue that preempted the whole build out and success of Blue White. But let's start with yourself.
Cool. So Alon Ascher, originally from Israel, and I'm the Chief Business Officer for Blue White. Been in the company for the last 5.5 years, and my background is in many years developing, operating, designing autonomous systems. I'm an Air Force veteran, and also spent many years working with the Israeli government on various projects. And myself and also the rest of the Blue White management team with a similar background, we look for ways to implement this knowledge that we gathered on autonomous technologies from the defense side, and how we can implement this in different industry, different markets. We saw all these benefits of improved productivity, improved safety of the operators, improving accuracy, and generally providing much more access. More people can interact with unmanned system. It's safer, and we look to implement those benefits in other markets. In the beginning, we have pretty wide exploration. We had projects in autonomous mobility, in HLS, in construction, in mining, in survey of different fields, and in agriculture. And we really started to see these benefits and this need in agriculture of how to transform those farms, those labor-intensive farms and operation, to a more productive and safe place to work.
Agriculture is an area that we've dabbled in here at the lab. As you know, Alon, we have 2 farms where we've implemented private 5G now for several years with great success and great benefit. But the industry itself, I'm just really not as steeped in it as you are. Labor, I would imagine, is one of the top line items of expense for agriculture, but it's also a challenge in many cases, not just here in the United States, but around the world. There's a real challenge for growers to get good labor when they need it. So you looked at that opportunity and said, well, shoot, we could both help from a benefit standpoint, but we could also help in areas where there might be labor shortages. What are you seeing on the ground today with respects to agriculture and their exploration of autonomy? Because it's not just all you guys, there's a lot of good autonomy that's being done by the OEMs themselves. John Deere, an example, CNH doing other things as well. I'd love for you to share your perspective on why autonomy is important today.
First of all, labor shortages in ag is a global problem. It's not only that it's expensive in California. We see in many places that you have around 50% supply of what actually needed in order to farm the acres. In the Midwest, sometimes you'll see people driving for 18 hours a day just because they can't find people. And in California, they speak about 50% availability of the actual tractor drivers. Newer generation, they don't want to drive vehicles. And this is a really dangerous and monotonic job. Think of yourself driving 10 hours every day at night, 2-3 miles per hour with tank full of chemicals spraying like near you or on you, and you need to be with protective gear and things like this. So this is it's intense and dangerous activity that not a lot of people want to participate. So farmers and growers all around the world really have a challenge to find to find the workforce that they need in order to grow our food. So this has become a real a global problem for, kind of like to maintain life rather than just to optimize the business. And we are focusing on the permanent crops space, which mean orchards and vineyards, are tree fruits and nuts and things like that are even more labor intensive. You see, for maybe 1,000-acre farm, you'll have 10, 20 tractor drivers and working for all year long, really long shifts, because those products, those fruits and nuts require year-long maintenance and care. So this become extremely labor intensive, and this is why we decided to focus on this type compared to row crops, the soy, the corn, the wheat, that is more seasonal. You work very intensively, but for maybe 3-4 months a year. You can cover many acres with one driver and one machine. And the labor challenge is there, but is different. So we really focus on this, and the technology stack that we develop and all our offering is mainly focused on those high labor-intensive operations.
Yeah, and I would say as well, and keep me honest on this, Alon, it's not just high labor requirements, but it's also much more complicated growing these fixed crops than it is row crops, just because, it's harder to get apples off of trees or, grapes off of vines and such. You need some specialized equipment for that. Let's talk a little bit about what's the process for how Blue White gets implemented? Because one of the misnomers that some people might have is that you're actually creating your own equipment, meaning the tractors, the combines. You're not. You're actually retrofitting, augmenting existing equipment, which is both great for growers and farmers who have already invested quite a bit in this equipment, and you're bringing modern technology to it. So I'd love to just have you explain, what is that early life cycle of a grower, farmer signing up to using Blue White? How does that implementation look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. And really our strategy and our approach was to adapt ourselves to the growers and not to force them. Already moving to automation, moving to a data-driven processes is a big leap. So we try to make it as easy, as accessible as possible. So we basically adjust ourselves or the technology to their equipment. They typically chose already, the tractors that work good for them, and the implements and the specific spare or whatever that would be. And we install a aftermarket kit on those vehicles. We build this technology stack from the ground up. So everything from the mechanical side, the perception, the sensing, the AI, of course, the connectivity, the fleet management platform over the cloud. Everything that needed to take a regular, very basic mechanical tractor that is far from being a robot and transform it to a robot in a really quick process. We already have dealers certified to do it over 1 day. And now we even work harder on how to implement the daily activities in the farm to set up a new farm and operate those machines so the growers can do it on their own. We started with working in partnership with growers, sending Blue White field specialists to the field to work with them, to train, etc. And we're building our next gen product to be basically self-sufficient, so they can do it much more intuitive. They can do it as like a self-serve for the growers to do it, and also for their dealers, because dealers are a very important piece of this ecosystem, that those the one that you used to call when you had a problem. So you can do it as well in the autonomous world. So equip also dealership with those certifications and tools in order to provide a service for the tractors and the equipment, but also for these robots.
That's fantastic. On average, what is usually the amount of time necessary for a grower to go from they're signed up to use Blue White, retrofit happens and then learning happens? Is that like a 2-week window, a 3-week window? How soon can growers, really be in production with Blue White?
So yeah, it is depends on the size of the operation, the complexity, how many teams you're running, etc. But I would say that from this process take us a few months of training and adoption and working together. We are now looking at the next season, really try to minimize it to few days of doing a training, doing all the setup of the farm, whether it's planning of the routes and have everything configured on our platform, and let the growers operate them by themselves, give them better tools or how to deal also with things. Agriculture, always something happens in agriculture. A pump is breaking or a tree has fall or you need to change things because of weather. So really give them also tools how to do and how to cope with those changes in real time and not necessarily and be independent. Okay, just have control. We talk control. I think it's a big thing. Growers, there's so many things that they're outside of their control, like the commodity prices and the weather pattern and even employment supply and things like that. So if we can, as a technology vendor, to provide them tools that will give them more support on their operation, better outcomes, more productivity of how my week gonna roll out, this is very important and impactful for them.
Absolutely. Taking a step back from the industry, what you're all doing in terms of bringing autonomy to existing infrastructure, is mind-blowing. But it's not new. There are more autonomous capabilities going into agriculture. I think it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's called carbon robotics that has come in, that is using lasers to shoot at weeds. And there's a bunch of other innovative companies that are really coming in the space. I think it's safe to say autonomy is kind of, I wouldn't say going mainstream just yet, but it's certainly on path to go mainstream in agriculture. Is that a fair statement from what you're seeing?
100%. You see every year there's more and more vendors and solutions in the agriculture shows. Even the agriculture shows slowly become a robotic shows. And I assume, 10 years from now, you will come to the big Tulare Ag Show in California, and 50% of the vendors would be robotic or have some kind of automation in it, because this is what it needed. So at least in our worlds, we understand that we have to integrate with the ecosystem, and we're trying to build this platform, open platform, to be integrated with all the other great products, whether it's a farm management tool or collaboration we have with Telax Agronomy, for example, a really big data company that working on all these application and pesticides usage reports and things like that, to integrate the data between the platform, whether it's with smart implements companies. So we're not driving the tractor just for driving or just for tractoring. We're spraying, we're mowing, we're executing tasks. So integrated to those smart implements, because you need more sensors now to run it autonomously, and also communicated with other vehicles in the farms, whether the ATV or a robotic harvester. So we're taking a really early approach of building a platform, building something that is connected to multiple solutions in the farms, because this is what growers need. Essentially, they have many different tools, and they want the things to be connected and easier to use.
Yep. And it's also safe to say that they rely more on data today than they've ever relied on, because not just do things happen on farms like tree limbs fall down or storms happen, but the health of the crop is really dependent on the quality of the data that they're getting throughout the growing cycle, so they can make adjustments and make sure they have good crop outcomes as well. cool tech is cool tech, but if it doesn't really have a home with customers, it's it's just cool tech. You've heard me say this time and time again, Alon. It would be great maybe if you can share a story of really successful implementation of Blue White. I believe some of your biggest ones are in Northern California, but I'd love to hear a success story where Blue White's been implemented, and more importantly, what's been that bottom line impact for the grower?
For sure. So I think, success, you can measure it in so many different ways. I see this as in the journey, especially on what this technology is doing for the business, how the business now see itself differently. And we have really good examples of, the management team that probably, get into this maybe in the financial point of view, or they have, as you said, like labor shortage because their farm is remote. And you see with the implementation of this technology, they see the data, they see the report, they're being engaged, they're going to the field, they see those robots running up and down the rows, those tractors running without people up and down the rows with remote supervision. And they're already imagining and implementing also how my business going to evolve. So they're planting a new field, and they come to consult with us. How can I plant this field to be robotic ready, or suitable? Or they're hiring now a new position to their business, and they're saying, hey, can we work on this job description, and can you give us maybe some comments or your view, because we want to promote our existing employees to be a robotic operator, from helping the CFO and maybe improving some of the things in the financial, or helping the farm manager to do 10, 20 more acres a day. This is great, and this is very important, right? And we're heavily focused on this, and we're trying to nail down those capabilities. But really, when you see the success story, you see this change management in terms of how I perceived my business. I typically take this, and we have different examples on this. And I use this example of those farms are like factories, 30, 40, 50 years ago, right? You have so many people in the factory and working from field to field, and someone get a cut and someone being injured. And today you go into a industrial factory, whether it's a processing plant or a car manufacturing, and everything would be, like robotic, very safe, very clean, very organized. You'll have like 20 people instead of 200 that they're much more skilled, and, it's not physical. And the productivity is double, the quality is double, and everyone life is much better. So we really try to do this transformation here for the farms. Look at this at a factory as a whole. So it's management, it's employees, and eventually, yes, it's doing more acres and do it safely.
Yeah, it's safe to say, given all of those advantages, that growers who are customers, clients of Blue White, are seeing good bottom line returns that more than justify the investment early on. One thing that is striking about the ag industry that really is differentiated to other industries is there's only so much you can do in terms of market, right? The market is very volatile. And so you might have 1 year undersupply of product, and so you're gonna have a good outcome. Or in other cases, like with apples here in Washington State, we were catching up last week with Steve Mantle, one of our other alumni from Innovate Ag, and Apple's having a tough time right now in Washington State. There's just oversupply, and so as a result, demand isn't quite as strong, and so pricing has dropped as a result of that. So implementing capabilities like Blue White helps the growers manage some of that risk profile in just their underlying cost basis. I think that's a pretty fair statement, yeah?
For sure.
Awesome.
It's great predictability, I would say, but also it's reducing risk. For example, a severe employee incident in your farm, someone roll over with a tractor or being injured by the equipment, all of a sudden it's become a problem that you take attention to. And even if you have great insurance, right? the guys get injured, you want to make it work good for him, you know, you lost all this, now you're in the middle of the season, what the hell are you doing? So once you have much safer operation with less chances to have these injuries, these dramas, these, you know, it's chemicals also, it's dangerous materials. So this exposure to those materials, you dramatically reduce the risk. Now it's maybe hard to quantify because it's binary. Did I have a $1 million accident or not? But you know, we also see that you know, the owners hopefully can sleep a bit better because it's de-risking some of the portion of the business.
Yeah, and that's important given even just the strain on the food system that we have today, right? Arguably, climate change has impacted growth of crops for various reasons in various regions of the world as well. As a founder or co-founder leading sort of this revolution in automation, robotics, what advice, my friend, would you give other founders in this space? What are the lessons learned? Maybe the perceptions you had in the early days of Blue White to where you are today that you would pass along to other founders coming behind you?
So, you know, I've been working in various startups and definitely it's a long journey. Okay, it's going up and down. There's, just like growers, you can control a lot of things. And I think the notion of it's going to take a lot of time, and it's for the long run. You build it like you really try to create an impact and build a good business. You need to choose the right problem to work on. Like choose something that you care about, that you're passionate about. So you know you'll be happy, and all of a sudden it's not necessarily work, it's like you're doing things that you believe in. And sadly, I'm saying I see too many, I would say, great minds that are building great, maybe or very sophisticated products, but in or problems that not necessarily need to be solved, or I don't know, they're less passionate about, or they're less impactful for humanity. So start with choosing the right problem, challenge, and then go, of course, to choose the right team or the people that you enjoy to work with, because you're gonna spend all your time with them, and you know the good times and the success, and also the failures and you know the challenges. So problem and team is number one and two. The rest is like, you know, just be resilient and keep on working.
One of the that's great, Alon. One of the aha moments that I had by way of working very closely with your team and just being in the industry ourselves is that agriculture is especially difficult as an industry because the growing windows are so many, you know, months, quarters, a year. It's not like manufacturing, distribution, healthcare, other industries where you have reoccurring operations throughout the year. There's a window where a lot of things happen, and then there's a lot of wait time, especially with those row crops, as you pointed out. So agriculture just has another level of complexity in terms of making progress in that industry.
Yeah, it's there's the seasonality impact. We have to put an effort on it. It's the food that we're growing, so it's the food that we eat. We need this to survive. There's so many businesses and communities that are dependent on this. And generally speaking, we farm the same way for the last 100 years. So to participate in this transformation, in this revolution of the way we grow food from the 20th century to the 21st century, I find this very exciting and important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Alon, thank you so much for offering your time and sharing all the great success that Blue White has enjoyed. It's been a true pleasure to have the opportunity to work with you and your team and Ben and others, and then to see your success. I mean, just last year alone, I think it was, or earlier this year, you landed another big monster raise. All congrats to the success of your operation so far. So thank you again for spending time with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Jim, and the team, and thank you for the relationship, long-term relationship that we have here.
Absolutely. Well, that wraps up our discussion today, folks, with Alon from Blue White. Thank you for sharing your journey again with us and how you're using autonomous technology as a platform to transform industries, and especially in agriculture, helping to transform livelihoods for folks all around the world. For your listeners, if you're as inspired as we are by the potential of automation, be sure to continue following Blue White Robotics and their innovative work. Here on Innovation Unplugged, we bring you the stories of pioneers like Alon that are reshaping the world. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, tell us what you think of today's show, and share this episode with others who are eager to learn about the power of autonomous technology. And until next time, keep innovating and stay unplugged. Thank you, Alon. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you very much.